Here we go. Hey, everybody, another episode of COVID Chats. And this is a little different, doing a Zoom COVID chat with the one and only, the legend, John Mills, head men's golf coach at Kent State University. John, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, first of all, sporting all the gear that I've acquired over the few times that come down and visited the Ferrara training facility, which is amazing. I mean, this is one of the really cool things that just floored me when the very first time we visited Kent, just how amazing your practice facility is. Because that was kind of my first exposure to how serious college golf is. And I shouldn't say that it wasn't that I didn't know about college golf, but the really cool thing is I've been watching the kids I've been coaching, because I started with a lot of them when they were really young. Yeah. And as they get more exposed to colleges, it's like, what are colleges doing to be differentiators to allow them to be successful? And I mean, the training facility that you guys have with, you got a double-ended range, you've got 2 practice holes at the back, wedge areas, you've got indoor-outdoor capabilities, plus you've got a huge putting green. That's so cool.
Yeah, and we actually just added a built-in indoor putting studio. So in the back area of the putting green, there's that open area.
Yeah, where the little fitness area was there.
Yes, yeah. We took all that out and added about a 12-foot putt with cameras, TVs, computers, and it's Sam Putt Lab up where we have Sam Putt Lab, and so it's incredible.
That's so cool. Yeah. So a couple things that are really cool about this is that you, all right, are Canadian just like me.
Yeah.
And you played at Kent State, and you had a great 14-year professional career, and you're back at the alma mater, and now you get mentored. You basically get mentored and coached and mentored by by Herb Page, the legend, and now you're the head men's coach, and it's like it's kind of come full circle. So I mean, how does that feel, first of all?
Yeah, it's obviously a great feeling to be able to coach at a place like Kent State, and it's so close to me and dear to my heart, since obviously playing here for 4 years and had a great experience here with Herb as my coach, and I always kept in contact with him, and I lived in Pennsylvania for a little while, so it was easy to get over, and I'd always come over in the winter just to hang out, hit some balls, do whatever, and at that time while I was still playing, I never really considered that I would be coaching, obviously. My goal was I was going to keep playing. And,
sure.
I always wanted to do something with either junior golf or, work with kids. And then this opportunity came up at a time in my career that, I was struggling, and I was kind of, looking at options for the first time in my career. And it was just kind of perfect timing. And now I got some crazy big shoes to fill.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, You know what? It's really interesting. I see. So everybody, just a little bit of info here. This is an Ontario golf legend here we're talking to today. You've got to realize this. Yes, I'm going to pump your tires up a little bit. I mean, he's in the Golf Hall of Fame, Ontario Golf Hall of Fame, but he shares that with his father. We'll get into that a little bit later. His brother is the director of golf at Wildfire up in north of Peterborough. They come from he played at Jacksonville University.
Yep.
Funny story is I played with your brother the very first professional event. He played as an assistant. It was kind of funny because his wife was walking with his fiance at the time. Yeah. It's really kind of funny. But you played a 14-year career on various professional tours, Canadian, Web.com, Nationwide, and the PGA Tour, which is fantastic. You've played in numerous Canadian Opens. You won the Ontario Junior in 1996. You also won 2 Web.com events. You went to Kent State, and you played with some pretty awesome people. Danny Saul,
yep.
I think it's how you pronounce it, and he's VJ's caddy.
Yeah.
You've got Randy Dietz, European Tour.
Yeah.
And the kind of most famous guy was that Ben Curtis dude who kind of won a British Open, right?
Yeah, Ben. Yeah. I played 3 years with Ben, and he was my roommate, so it was pretty cool.
Amazing, right? Like, it's so cool. You played, you were a 4 Nations Cup champ. You played in the World Cup. I mean, you've been all over the world. And like you just said, you're now, the head coach at your alma mater. And I mean, it's a pretty cool story, man. And it's like, I feel very privileged to have you here chatting a little bit about what it's like to be a coach of a, college, and such a great one here. And, that leads me into my very first question, right? Like, you've recently taken the helm as the head men's coach, and you've got, like you said, you've pretty big shoes to fill,
Yeah.
because for 41 years, Herb Page, who's a Canadian, has been at Kent State, and he really put Kent State on the map, because, but at the same time, there are a lot of Canadians now who are coaches at really big Division I schools, both men and women. Jan Dowling, for one, at Michigan,
Yep.
who played at Kent State. Then you've got J.C. Deacon, played at UNLV. Now he's at Florida. And we've got Brendan Webb at Tennessee.
Yeah.
Why? What is it with us Canadians? We're just that nice? Like, how is it the Canadians have been doing so well here?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think obviously it's a really good question. You get guys that go down there, that come down. It's funny with Jan. Jan came when I was in school. She was playing on the women's team here, so
Right.
we got to know each other really well. But just all those people, I know them pretty well, and they're just great people. And really,
you're all around the same age. Like, you're all similar ages, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're all around that same age. And it's really an interesting point, because you guys were kind of the preemptive to the people we see now, both on tour and in colleges, because you would have to agree that there's a larger influx of Canadian influence in both collegiately and professionally now compared to when you were in your collegiate experience.
Yeah, I know. Even there's obviously some in college, but even when we played against other kids from Canada, different collegiate events, different teams, for the most part, you knew them because you played at a national level,
Right.
which was great because we always looked for each other and supported each other, and you want to beat each other, but at the same, and I think that's part of it. But even professionally, when I was out on the web.com early on, I was one or it might have been one other Canadian, maybe two here and there, but it's definitely the numbers have increased over the years, and it's great to see that.
Well, it's really cool to see those have had the experience in college and professionally have circled back to now give back into the coaching realm.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting point, because if you were to look at, the four of you, I'll just use the four of you as an example.
Yeah.
You guys are more than just bus drivers. Okay. And I don't mean that as an insult, but I'm just saying, in terms of coaching, you guys are all about developing your players.
Yes.
That is a bit of an art. What are some of John's, I could say, skills and things you try to do for your players to help them develop? What are some of your key points?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I do, like over my career, I've never been a real, I guess, technical.
Mhm.
I understand obviously that, but I understand that everyone's different. Everyone's got different body types. And, the biggest thing that I use, again, using the knowledge I've learned over, playing professional golf and working with some of the, top coaches, is that when you get on the golf course under pressure situations or just competitive situations, you're going to revert back to what you know, and you can't be thinking too much out there. You got to be focused on scoring the golf ball and less about the other aspects of it. So, I really try to get the guys to learn that and to understand how they hit the ball and what they can do under pressure and what their tendencies are, and then just be really great at that. For me, I was always a draw ball player, and everyone. I'd always have someone, the odd person come up and be like, hey, can you cut the ball? Maybe you should learn how to cut the ball. I'm like, I don't want to know. I don't want to cut the ball. I know no matter what is down the right-hand side, water, out of bound, whatever it is, I know that I can aim at that and draw it off it every single time. So when you learn that skill and you have that confidence, game becomes easy at times. And looking back at even my career, when I started to struggle, I started missing it kind of both ways. So then all of a sudden, I don't have that confidence anymore, and I don't know what the ball's doing. So I really understand the importance of that. And beyond that, the other thing is the importance of just short game and wedge game. The wedge game, once you get to a certain level, a lot of the guys hit the ball the same. They all great ball strikers.
They all can move that ball out there, right?
Yeah, and really it comes down to how close are you hitting your wedges and controlling your wedges, controlling your spin and stuff like that. So trajectories. So we spend just a ton of time working on wedges, creating wedge combines on the TrackMan, wedge contests outside. A lot of contests. Try to really get a competitive atmosphere with our guys.
That's nice.
Contest, just tons of contests, because that's how I grew up playing junior golf. I grew up playing at the Bay Quinte in Belleville, Ontario.
Great track.
And,
Great track.
Yeah, and we had, this is actually kind of crazy. When our junior program there, so I played college golf. Eric Knutson played college golf at Old Dominion, I believe.
Wow. Yep.
Brian McAlpine went to, I think, Iowa or Iowa State and then transferred somewhere else. Rob Couture played East Tennessee State, then went to Michigan State, I believe,
Wow.
Eastern Michigan. Kristen McLaren, who went down to El Paso, Texas, and now is the head pro at Cataraqui. Jesse Collinson played there a little bit.
Man, that's a pedigree. But
yeah, and I know I'm missing one or two guys.
Sure.
But just growing up in that atmosphere, and we loved golf. We loved to golf. We went out and played every day. Then we would go and have like par 27 or chipping contests, putting contests. Yeah. And that's the atmosphere that I want with our team.
Well, you're just leading me right into my next question, because like Kent State was unfortunately known for the shootings back in 1970. Like that, when you hear Kent State University, you think about the shootings, the 4 young people that lost their lives due to the fact that they were protesting U.S. military's bombing of Cambodia. Now, and I can say this confidently, now Kent State is known for turning out professional golfers and great university golf teams.
Yeah.
What is the culture that has changed, that Herb created and changed to allow this to become a hotbed at a university that has an enrollment of only 20,000? Because it's not a major, huge facility, but you guys are standouts.
Yeah, I think it obviously starts with the culture and with what Herb did here at this program. He was a very hard coach and demanded a lot from his players, and didn't want to hear excuses, and just really believed in all the players as well, and believed that you come here, you work hard, you're going to get better over the 4 years here. We're going to put you in a position to excel and to see where you can actually get to, playing like a national schedule, or playing in some of the best college events in the country. So really focusing on that and doing everything first class, I think really developed. And even something as simple as after a tournament, having all the players write handwritten letters to the tournament we just played, thanking them for the opportunity, and just stuff like that. It starts with little things. And another great example is our facility, having our players clean the facility and treat it like it's their own. It's their facility. They got to respect it. And picking up golf balls, just it all starts with that stuff. And
that's a really good point. I think that was one of the most stunning things. The kids. So the really cool thing for everybody knows, I've had the opportunity to take some of my juniors to Kent State to use when they're not there. They're actually, both teams are away playing in tournaments. But the really cool thing is they open their doors to allow us to go and use the facility and then go play the golf course. And the one thing is the kids will talk to some of the players because they're there picking the range, vacuuming things up. They're basically the staff looking after their own facility. And that was one of the things that kind of set it aside, right? Like, it was very cool to see.
Yeah.
And I really think that it just, it sets such a good work ethic example for young people who are in college, but also for those who see, hey, look, I'm in college. Not everything's handed to you. You have to work at it. And you've been mentored, coached, and now, you got to kind of co-coach with Herb Page. And, I've often heard that he was a no fuss, no muss, straight shooter, which is as it should be.
Yep.
One of his best quotes or lines that I remember he said to the group was, "We're here to play golf. We're not here to play golf swing." And that's referring to the fact that you can get stuck on technology a little bit too much when you get into, into college, and sometimes you're worried more about your stats than you are about your stats or your game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, right. So how does John Mills now continue to get better?
Yeah, and, I use a lot of the same lessons that I learned from Herb, but I obviously, I'm a little different than him, but I'm very competitive. Obviously, we're going to work hard and do all the same things, but and really, how I get better, it's just continuing to learn. I'm always going to be put in situations that are new to me because this is my first year head coach. But it's as long as I'm honest with the players, with the kids, and go through it, learning and trying to learn from either my mistakes or just and putting my little twist on what we traditionally do here. I think that's all I can do at this point.
Well, if your first year has been anything but unbelievable with what you've had to deal with, how has it changed your what you've had to do? Because I mean, dude, like this is just unprecedented, right? I mean, my gosh, I often have to pinch myself that we're not in some crazy movie, right?
I know.
But, what are some of the things how are you changing your thought waves and your brain space so that this can, so you can continuously, move forward?
Yeah, you just got to, I guess, a little bit, you got to think outside the box when it comes to recruiting. Like, who knows if we'll even get to recruit this summer. Obviously, a lot of those kids that you're either talking to or trying to recruit that you had on your list that you want to see, you're not going to be able to possibly watch them golf, which is huge for us. We always want to put eyes on players that we are going to, be interested in. And so with that, we just got to maybe, think about, doing more, I guess, video chats, even watching a range session. I don't know, stuff like that. And it's, it's tough. It's tough because there's just so many questions, I guess, to be answered, and no one knows yet. And you just got to, I guess, make the best of it. You get a bit of a head start with the scheduling for next year, and other than that, you spend a lot of time recruiting online, which is just different.
Yeah. Interesting point. I had the opportunity to have Brandy Jackson come on from South Carolina, who's a great recruiting expert. Yep. And, she said one of the tactics that she's been, having some of the kids that she consults with and stuff like that are like a day in the life. It's kind of like, keep in contact with the coach, send them, let them know what you're doing.
Yeah.
On a daily basis, right? Because it's like you're sitting around playing Xbox or PS4 all day. That's not really very motivating for a coach who's looking at you, right? Yep. So what would you want to see from a recruit if they were going to send you something?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, so I've noticed the stuff I've seen so far. Okay, what are kids doing to think outside the box themselves? I was talking to our players, our team, and it was just like, you can't look at this as a negative. You got to like somehow create some positive out of it that gives you the feeling that you're getting better each day. And I remember as a kid growing up, I loved golf so much that even during the winter, I'd sit in my living room and chip balls off the carpet onto the couch and, stuff like that, onto chairs. And you see with kids now, you see videos, video chat, you see what their setup is. And, I actually kind of like, okay, well, some kid has really gone out of his way to create something that he can do, hit shots, make swings, whatever it is. And he's not just kind of sitting down playing video games all day. And he's making an effort to get better. And just because, either it starts with just loving the game as well.
And making that effort, right? So you're hitting the nail on the head, because it's like, as a head coach, you're like, hey, show me a little something. How are you still being motivated that you want to come here and play for me? Because again, you not staying in communication with me, you not sending me stuff and saying, hey coach, look what I did today. Or, like, it doesn't have to be every single day, but you can say, hey coach, today I did a workout. I swung with my eyes closed for this long. I hit some putts and I chipped outside. My dog and I played catch, right? Or something to that effect, right? That is getting them to just show that you have to be creative. I have one young man, he's 12. This is awesome. He's been up at his lodge up in Collingwood because that's just the best place for his family to hang out.
Yep.
He built himself a 9-hole golf course.
Like around the
ski hill.
Awesome. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he's sending me videos of him playing, and he's got the big Sorel boots on.
Yeah.
And he's like trutzing around, and he's like, I said, so dude, how long is the longest hole? He goes, well, the longest hole is like 140. You got to hit it to a point, so then you can then hit it down to where the flag is. I was like,
yeah,
this is pretty cool. Then he tells me yesterday, yeah, Dad got me flags.
Yeah.
Right. So these are the differentiators, right? All right. So what are some of the best parts?
One thing real quick to go off that, when I was a kid, around my house, days when I wasn't golfing, I actually dug holes around my house, different areas, over a creek and over this. And they're all like, 20, 30-yard shots. But I would play the golf course. Part of it would go over over part of the house, and
wow,
that kind of stuff. And even something simple as nailing, like downstairs, I nailed a comforter blanket to the wood beams and bought like a $25 hitting mat so I can just hit balls into the and that doesn't cost anything really.
It doesn't.
No,
it doesn't, until you rip one through the quilt and you hit the wall on the other side.
Exactly.
or if the bloopers that you see out there, people actually miss the net. Like I was teaching one of the boys, they're up at their cottage and they have a net and it's facing the lake. He actually pass swung, shanked it and missed the net, went into the lake. It was like hilarious stuff, man. Like it's definitely different. That is for sure. Yeah. So what are some of the best parts about being a college golf coach?
I would say, working with the young kids and seeing the improvement, seeing the competitiveness in their eye, and and just traveling and spending time with these kids and learning more about them as a person, and
the relationships.
The relationships, it's huge, and even the relationships you develop with other coaches, and you spend a lot of time recruiting kids, and you don't get every kid you want, and then you see those kids on the road with other teams, and you still have that connection with them, and because you spend a lot of time with them. Just that the whole, I guess, personal connections you make with the players, and even beyond, like, so when I first came in here, our guys who now have been graduated for a couple of years that I first came in with, I still communicate with them a lot. I talk to a lot of those guys, like Josh Whalen from Napanee, Spencer Dobbs from Oshawa, Chase Johnson from locally around here, Ian Holt, who plays Mackenzie and Corn Ferry a little bit. I talk to them a lot, and just those connections will last a lifetime. It's not just a 4-year thing and they're gone. I never hear from them.
No, that's great. And you know what? That's kind of like it's kind of like a theme that I've really gotten from a lot of the coaches that I've had on. That it's these connections that we have and how we nurture them in this time, and how we continuously have them that it helps everybody. So I mean, from the college coaching standpoint, these relationships are super important. Even if, like you said, I love that part about how you said, even if I don't get the recruit that I wanted and they're playing for another team, I still have that connection with them and I say hi to them and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's really great because I know those connections you have with other coaches, and you can call them up and you guys talk a little bit about players and all that stuff. It's really great to see, because it really just boils down to relationships and how you nurture those along the way.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. All right. What's the worst part about being a coach?
Well, that's easy. So when you're on the golf course with the team, and when I'm playing competitively, I have control of what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're watching kids, and whether they make mistakes or whatever, and you just want to it's like, what were you thinking? And it's just that lack of control as a coach.
Right.
You do your best to prepare them,
right,
but ultimately you go out there and you try not to get in their way. You got to let them compete in golf, but it's just the not being able to control things like you normally could when you're playing yourself.
You're almost a golf parent there, John. It's almost like you're a golf parent. It's really kind of wild, eh?
Yeah.
it's prepping you for when you have two girls, right?
I have a
Oh, sorry.
older boy, yeah, a 9-year-old boy, and
Sorry.
a 7-year-old daughter.
Right. So when do they play?
Yeah, I'm getting Emma. My daughter seems a little more interested than my son, and
Okay.
we're gonna start doing some more hitting down in our basement. But
Very cool.
we'll see.
Very cool. Yeah. So it's just prepping you for for when you
Yeah.
become that golf parent, right? All right. So here's my favorite part of this. You saw it when I sent you those questions. It's called my Fast Five, right? So there's like 5 random questions that I've come up with. I've done a little homework, my man, because
Oh, okay.
I do a little research prior to my chats with people
Yeah.
because I want to have some surprises for them.
Okay.
All right. So you have a wide range of music, and but if you were getting ready for a tournament as a player, okay, what was your playlist?
It would actually have a lot of probably Our Lady Peace, some Dave Matthews.
Yeah, cool.
And that goes back. It changes over the I guess towards the end of my career, probably leaned toward country. But
Oh, really? Cool.
Our Lady Peace, for some reason, has always kind of stuck with me over the years, and I've always
Man.
I like them.
There you go. Awesome. That's great. All right. So you're also a big Seinfeld fan.
Yes.
Love Seinfeld. And you know what? I don't blame you. One of the best best TV shows ever made.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to test your knowledge.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're going to have to complete a couple of sentences for me. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. They're real and
They're real
and
they're wonderful.
oh, and
They're beautiful. They're beautiful.
spectacular.
Spectacular. Yes.
All right. Next one. Hello.
Newman.
Good job. Good job. Hello, Newman. Exactly. All right. And what was the name of George Costanza's made-up company he reported to the unemployment office?
Oh, that is Industries.
Mm-hmm.
Vanderlei Industries.
Yeah, there you go. Boom. Hey, you redeem yourself for missing
Yes.
the first one with
Yes.
that. Well done, sir.
Well, I should get partial marks for the first one.
Well, partial. Yes. Okay. Half. All right. But yes. And there were so many other ones I could have brought up, but I thought,
Yeah.
I was in the pool.
Oh, the shrinkage one.
There you
Yeah.
go. Exactly. We could be here for another half hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So number 4, what's the title of the John Mills movie?
Oh, title.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I don't know.
Come on.
I don't want to say Canadian golfer, but that's just too basic.
That's okay. I thought up one. I thought it would be kind of cool. A Canadian comes home, or right? I thought that was kind of cool.
That goes well.
Or Canadian squared, or second time Canadian.
Yeah.
Or some, one of those things was kind of work. All right. So this might be a bit of a stretch.
Okay.
All right. So supposedly you're quite the Sidney Crosby Pittsburgh Penguins fan, having grown up Maple Leaf Bud Blue.
Yeah. I grew up a Leaf fan.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
All right. They win the cup. Do you change back?
No.
No.
And I'll tell you why. Something happened. So when I, obviously met my wife from Pennsylvania, we were near Pittsburgh, and we lived there, and we used to go to games. And every time we would go, we'd always try to go to the Leaf Penguin game when the Leafs were in town. And when they first started coming, I was rooting for the Leafs. And then it turned into, okay, now I just want a good game. I don't care who wins. and then it turned into, okay, Penguins. I want the Penguins to win when they play the Leafs. So it just gradually over time turned into that. Obviously, I still want the Leafs to do well and all that stuff. But if it came down to it, I'd be going Pittsburgh.
There you go. All right. Well, only for the fact that I think that your wife might, kind of get upset with you. I'm going to go with that.
For sure.
All right. There you go. All right. So those are great Fast Five ones. Those are awesome. I got a surprise question for you.
Okay.
All right. And I love this story. Oh my gosh. This is one of my favorite John Mills stories. And it really, not a lot of people know this story.
Okay.
And an amazing resource told me this one. So often we do not know how our actions have an effect on others. And your actions had a profound effect on a young boy's life that it changed his future relationship with golf. All because of at the Canadian Open, walked with a pro, he walked with you, and the way that you conducted yourself changed his life and his focus. So now he is not only been a graduate of Kent State University, a double Canadian amateur winner, and he's now a winner on the PGA Tour. Yes, I'm talking about Mackenzie Hughes.
Yeah.
That story is really cool. And can you just give us a little bit of information on how that story came to be?
Yeah, it was. I'm trying to think of the hole. It was at Hamilton, I believe.
Yes,
and
it was.
The par 3 up the hill, and they had kids there, whatever. And I can't remember if I let him. He carried the bag or just walked. But
he carried the bag.
Yeah, and the thing with that is like, at the time you don't even really realize what's going on. Obviously, you're out there playing, and you're trying to get. But I always like to interact with the kids, and like even something as simple as giving balls after a hole. I always wanted to give it to a kid, gloves, stuff like that. And so anytime I got to interact with a kid or someone who loved golf or just being a part of it, I would try to go out of my way to help them as much as I can, or just have them really walk away with just a really cool experience. And it's just really neat to kind of look back at that and have and see what he's done. Obviously, I don't consider myself as any kind of part of that, really. I just
Wow.
but it's just really cool to me, that because I always really tried to put myself out there for the kids and help them out as much as I possibly could.
Well, you very much give a very humble story here, and to fill in a little bit of the blanks for everybody. So you did the walk with the pro, and Mackenzie Hughes gets paired with you, and he wasn't playing golf in any really huge seriousness at that time, and you engaged him in a conversation while I was carrying your bag, and you said, what are you doing? How do you like your golf? And basically from that point on, Mackenzie Hughes had John Mills like fan club. And he followed your career. He watched what you did. And what it did is it changed his focus on saying, hey, this Canadian guy's done it. I know I can do it. And it changed his focus because golf wasn't really in the forefront for him. It was there, but he wasn't like, oh, golf's my everything, going to be on the PGA Tour. And it's really cool because just because you have that wonderful attitude of, I want kids to have an experience, you inspire a Canadian icon in golf presently, which is, you're very humble about it, but it's such a really cool story because I guess I want to say, you do not know how your words and or your actions may influence others.
Yep.
And it's super important, especially in these days and times, that we keep those actions in a way that paints and helps people in a positive light, because just even like a phone call, a FaceTime, a connection can have a huge implication on somebody. And that is a great story to see how small actions can have bigger results.
Yeah, and I think as a professional golfer, sometimes you're out there, it can be easy to lose sight of what you're doing, like in really the opportunity you have. And even though you might be having a bad day or you have a bad tournament, those interactions, I always really tried to, even if I had a bad day, go out of my way to sign autographs and things like that. And, I guess my thought is, obviously you don't know how that's going to impact the kid, but you just love the smile. Like when I'm walking down a fairway and I throw a ball to a kid who's walking with his dad or something, and his just eyes light up and he runs over to his dad and shows that he just got a golf ball. I just love that stuff. And even now at the collegiate level, if I'm walking with a player and I see a kid or whatever, I tell our player to go throw him a ball or something, and they just love it.
Well, you know what? I think this comes from your upbringing of, your dad is, your dad was the longstanding, head of the Golf Association of Ontario, which
Yep.
is now Golf Ontario.
Yep.
An absolute icon in Ontario golf, and a very humble, very nice person. Like he's not a real huge flashy guy. He's not really. He's a very humble man, and but super nice and loves golf. And I think you can see as a testament between you and your brother that this is just, you guys are, I would say, good examples of being around a really good environment of golf, because you were just ensconced in it your whole life, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was always hockey in the winter and golf in the summer. And my sister was the only one that didn't play golf. She did a little bit, but then really got into volleyball and ended up actually playing college volleyball down in the States, and now
Cool.
coaches college volleyball in Pennsylvania at Clarion University. But just a really, I guess, athletic family. My mom, very athletic, very competitive. I got into golf. My grandparents lived in Peterborough, and I remember going out to Liftlock Golf Course, playing out there. It was probably the first golf course I ever played. With my grandparents, and I just kind of fell in love with it then. And my parents would drop me off at the golf course in the mornings in the summer, and they'd go to work, and I'd spend all day there looking for golf balls and chipping, putting, all that kind of stuff. So,
well, you know what? I often say that kids can never get really in trouble if they, playing on a golf course, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Well, we tried to get in trouble, but it's
sure.
definitely do it.
I mean, like real trouble.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure, like being goofy and playing different holes and playing too late or something like that. That may be a little different, but and I'm sure there's other stories. I'm gonna have to go back to my source. No names saying who gave me dirt on you, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But no, it really is an interesting point, because like golf is such a wonderful sport. It teaches you so many lessons.
Yeah.
What do you think were the biggest lessons you've learned in your professional and amateur career that you use to this day?
I think just like, a lot of it is just like integrity of the game, of like, even like things like, calling a penalty on yourself, or, one of the things that I prided myself most of in my entire career was the fact that in situations, I never, when I started something, I always finished it. And it's like, even when I was starting to struggle, there's moments where, you want to, I just want to withdraw and not play, or, or something like that. But I just kept playing. Like, I would, even something as simple as like, you're not playing well on the Thursday or on the Friday, and you're going to miss the cut, but rain delay, and you got to come back Saturday to play 2 holes. Well, guess what? I'm getting up early and playing 2 holes, even though I'm not going to make the cut. And I'm going to come out of this week with something positive. So the biggest thing, and this goes with my entire career, was that always taking something positive out of a situation. My first year on the web.com, I made like 4 cuts. My first year on the PGA Tour, I think I made 3 or 4 cuts. So, but I never looked at that as a negative thing. It was like, oh, I got a taste of it. And what am I going to take from this and be better next time? And that's how I've done it. That's how I've done everything. And I think with that kind of mentality, life in general, no matter what you're doing, is huge. And the one other thing that I did my entire career, and you can do it if you do, it doesn't matter is goal setting. I learned that from my coach Dave Woods in Golf Canada early on.
Sure.
And that always stuck with me. And goal setting, I quickly saw the advantage of that once I started doing it and really focused on it.
That's really interesting. I often talk about how to set goals with my players, and I mean, I'm sure you do that with your team.
Yeah.
And I was reading a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear, and it's a phenomenal book. And one of the lines in that book, and it's a really interesting, because it's really helped me with my coaching, is you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your system. Yeah. Right? Because you don't achieve these goals if you don't have a system in place. So when you sit down with your players and what they want to try and achieve this season, not just from a team aspect, for them themselves, right? How little do they understand about how this system helps them achieve it? Like, how much do you have to help them get programmed?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with that is anyone can just sit there and write stuff down, but if you don't really go back to it and look at it either every day or or really stick to it and like we talk about process goals and with your achievement goals and stuff like that, and those process goals are the important thing. You can't just focus on your achievement goals and expect that to happen. You have to have all these process goals to work toward. And if you do these and you stick to this every day and stick to this game plan and ultimately believe you're going to do it, then that's the first aspect of it. That's what you got to do to get to those goals that you want to achieve. But so I think we kids, junior players, college players, you always battle with they write it down, but how often do they go back and really look at it and focus on it instead of just doing it because you're asking them to do it?
Yeah, you know what? That's a great point, because some don't really understand how important it is.
Yeah.
And the ones that do are the ones that are the differentiators, right? The ones that are going to be different, yes. Right? And I mean, I'm really, I can't, think of a better way to see the reward of that is when you get looked at by a Kent State, when you get looked at by a Tennessee or even a Florida or something to that effect, right? It's the work that you put in is definitely going to give you, down the road. So my last kind of question is, sometimes kids kind of shoot for the stars when it comes to their recruiting and their where they think they could go play. Mm-hmm. What useful piece of information can you give a recruit or a potential recruit to make it a little bit more realistic in their pursuit for where they want to go? I'm not trying to downplay anybody's desire, but what is it that they think, what are some of the best ideas that they could use in this time to help them push through to that next level?
Yeah, it's always a tough thing because you don't want to tell a kid, well, you can't play there. Sometimes you tell them that and they're like, all of a sudden they become super focused in that, but the reality of it is, there's a lot of college programs that kids can play for, and it's really trying to figure out which ones, meet your ability, basically. There's times where kids will go to a program, maybe redshirt or whatever, even though they're not good enough yet, but they work toward, getting in the lineup and stuff like that. But ultimately it comes down to what you're looking, do you want to go somewhere and play right away? Do you want to wait a couple years and keep getting better? Do you, but ultimately it is, like when I went through it, I sent my letters to probably 100 different schools, wide variety, good ones, bad ones, middle of the range one. And you kind of get an idea that way. But you kind of, I recommend kids look at, rosters and be like, okay, well, there's kids on this team. What have they done? Like with us, we're looking at kids that have won national championships, provincial state championships, things like that. And obviously there's a lot more that goes into it, but it's really looking at your goals, where you want to go, and having those, match, what you're looking for. It's just such a tough thing to answer, I think, sometimes, because
that's okay.
It
is tough.
It is, but we get a lot of letters from kids that, maybe don't even, on a regular basis break 74. And it's just, obviously looking a little too high for what their talent is showing. And
exactly. And it's one thing to have a tournament scoring average of, it's one thing to have a scoring average of, hey, I'm a +2 and my scoring average is 70, where in actual fact, what's your tournament scoring average? Well, that's more like 75.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of times people think that their scoring average is a lot lower than it is, right?
Yeah.
And I have to think my wife hasn't let my dog come down and attack you like your dog is
Oh
attacking
my
you right
God.
now.
So it's a new dog, well, fairly new, and she's still in that bitey stage.
No problem. That's okay. I totally get it. But yeah, no, it's really an interesting point, right? Because I think that's where sometimes they lose sight of what they're realistically should be shooting for. I'm not saying downplaying anybody's realistic goals. Like, hey, I want to go play for this school. Hey, this is what you got to do. You got to work your butt off, right? All right. Well, listen.
Well, the other aspect to that real quick is that, you know, schools only have a certain amount of players to bring in. Like, you know, we might be only bringing in, like for this year, we're bringing in one guy, and a big class for us is maybe three. So you're talking about a program, you know, for us, you know, a top program, bringing in 3 kids, and, you know, we recruit all over the world. So, you know, look at those numbers right there. Like, you know, and we're trying to.
The funnel is large.
Yes.
What comes out is small.
Exactly. So, you know,
Right.
I think ultimately too, you got to really have an open mind of where, you know, what you're looking for, and really keep your options open for sure.
Oh, that's a really great advice, John. I really do think that's you've given me some amazing nuggets. Got a little inside the life and coaching life of Canadian icon and legend in golf, John Mills. I appreciate your time today. It's just, again, it's great to connect. Great to see you as usual. And look, you know what? I'm super pumped that you were able to come on today. So I can't thank you enough. I wish you and your wife and your kids continued health and safety. Keep working on that swing, because you're still a pretty competitive guy, and I know you like to bat it around every now and then. So.
Oh yeah, I play every day. The guys play. I play with them when obviously when we're here practicing and stuff. So it's and I play some tournaments in the summer. So I gotta.
Yeah, you're probably one of the best playing coaches out there in D1. I can guarantee you.
It would be yeah. Possibly.
Possibly. They should have a coaches tournament and see who wins.
Yeah, I don't know. JC's won some stuff down there.
This is true. He has. I have to admit. Yes, you guys, all good Canadian boys, right?
Exactly.
Anyways, man, listen, all the best to you. Thanks again so very much. And
thanks for having me.
Have a wonderful day. Take it easy.
You.
See you there. Bye-bye.
Bye.